but that's fine. Okay, so if you didn't know, DE Rebecca taking over Warframe lead, it seems, and DE Steve is looking over Soulframe. So let's take a look at Steve's and then Rebecca's letter. Tenno! Digital Streams has been my home for an entire game development career, 20 plus years for those counting. I try not to. That's insane. Over 10 of those years have been on Warframe as you know it today, but in truth, the Warframe story started much earlier. Warframe once existed as Dark Sector in my mind in the early 2000s. Turning that seed of Dark Sector into Warframe has been a life-defining accomplishment for me and the Digital Extremes team. I can feel like I can say we did it, and in some ways I thought it'd be the last thing we'd do as a team, but we want to tell another story. I love it. Soulframe development has officially just begun. Okay, it's going to be a long time, expect years. We hope you follow along. It's only possible because the community believed in Warframe to allow me 10 beautiful years in the Origin system. Further still, the Warframe team believed in me, but more importantly, I believe in them. I know they can do great things with the story of the Tenno, and now a group of us has set our sights on the fantasy genre to tell the story of Soulframe. I want to have fantasy and science fiction as part of Digital Extremes' legacy. I want to spend as much time with Soulframe as I have with Warframe. My beard only has so much black left in it. Envoys, see you in the future. We all live together, and always will. D.E. Steve. So cute. So cute! Tenno! For over 10 years, I've been writing posts to you. I've always called you Tenno. That will never change. Other things, though, are changing. For a new chapter of Warframe, I've always written from the perspective of someone that has been a steadfast believer in community as a core part of what makes Warframe great. That belief will stay with me now that I get to work closer with the developer team. Developers that have made everything possible. If the community has always been in the heart of Warframe, the developers have been the soul. It is an honor and an emotional one for that to be part of Warframe's future in the creative director role. So, Rebecca taking over creative director. Even more of an honor is being able to do it with members of the team growing into roles that form Warframe's new leadership. You know some of this team already, and there are many new faces behind the scenes. They are wonderful people who I deeply respect. And as we work through the transition, I know you'll feel the same. As for the Digital Extremes team, moving on to our incredible second project, Soulframe, they've not gone far. I'll miss many of them on the Warframe dev stream couch, but I'm excited for the next generation of folks that will be blinded by our studio's lights. I hope to make them proud and bother them frequently with my fashion frame choices. Nothing can stop me now. How lucky are that both science fiction and fantasy now exist under one roof, Envoys and Tenno. So if you didn't know, new game, Soulframe, all that jazz, it's gonna be a good one. Soulframe is the Warframe creators' follow-up to their decade-spanning hit. The newly revealed title will be the mirror universe version of Warframe, both in terms of setting and gameplay. Ooh. Yeah, I assume they're connected, but let's find out. This is not too long of an article, so it should be a pretty fast read. Ever since its signature game release in 2013, Digital Extremes has been known largely as the Warframe studio. Today, that changes. The developers describe its new game, Soulframe, as less of a sequel and more of a sister to Warframe. The online space ninja opus that's come to span countless genres over a decade worth of updates, it's going to be in the same universe for sure. Steve Sinclair, who's stepping down from his decade-long tenure as Warframe director to help lead the new project, told the Washington Post the gameplay will share Warframe's focus on cooperative player versus environmental combat and procedurally generated environments, but will be the mirror universe version of Warframe. This applies to setting Warframe as unique flesh mech power spin on the sci-fi genre. Soulframe will be a suitably strange take on the fantasy. It'll also apply to gameplay. Maybe it's not the same universe, but it's like similar, you know? Similar ideas. Where Warframe is focused on shooting, this one's focused on melee, Sinclair says. Where Warframe is super fast and crazy high speed, this one's going to be a lot more slow and heavy, but it'll still have a lot of similarities to the genre that we have experienced today. Yeah, it's a Souls-like, it seems. It's a Souls-like. Even in the era of endlessly updating live service games, Warframe is a unique success story. Launched in 2013 to little fanfare and middling critical reception, the game nonetheless found an audience after Digital Extremes stitched numerous ambitious updates into it, creating the Frankenstein's monster of the online gaming world. True. Slowly but surely, a humble cooperative shooter gained an emotional storyline, complex character progression system, first-person murder mysteries, enormous spaceships, and you can pile with friends, catching meaningful murders about labor rights, home world, hoverboarding with tricks, pets, and fishing. Fans have been able to witness and help shape the creation of many 3 systems via development streams on Twitch that have also run since 2013. The result is a live service game guided by the whims of developers and players alike with the question, what is the coolest possible thing we could do here? At the heart of countless decisions. But no game is limitless, eventually. Developers need a blank slate. For Sinclair and the company, Soulframe represents an opportunity to go out of the familiar yet fresh limb and see where it takes them. Soulframe's world, as proposed, might be its most interesting character. Okay, it's separate, for sure, 100%. It's not in the same universe. The game will focus on themes of nature, restoration, and adventure inspired by works like Princess Mononoke and The Neverending Story. Awesome. Specifically, the collision between industry and nature. Think of more Horizon Zero Dawn-esque, okay? In service of that, the world will show its displeasure towards the player who occupy it. The conceit in Soulframe is that the world itself is a little angry about what's been done to it, and the grounds underneath tend to shift throughout the day, said creator Jeff Crooks. So there's going to be proceduralism within the cave networks and crevasses, and so underneath the world. Nice. The hub world, meanwhile, will be open, more akin to Warframe's recently added open world planet than its early foundation of corridors and space stations. Crooks wants Soulframe to have a focus on exploration that Warframe never had, for it to feel more alive to players on the moment-to-moment basis. It's a Souls-like game, right? Like, for sure. I'm chasing that short session but high immersion thing where you sign in, come out of your yurt, and then where you are last signed off, he said, but the world feel like it's been going on without you. While combat will be slow-paced and melee-focused, the game is literally called Soulframe. Sinclair and Crook emphasize that they're not trying to make a game in the vein of From Software genre pioneering Soulframes, the Soul series, which includes 2022 mega hit Elden Ring, or rather, they didn't go into the project with that in mind. I mean, it's no matter what going to be talked about in regards to Souls-likes, because it's called Soulframe. It's hilarious. I think it certainly isn't an inspiration for the initial ideas, or maybe we were wrong to do, Sinclair said. Ironically, other titles that were maybe borrowing from Warframe might have been some sort of reverse influence, but Elden Ring has absolutely been a subject of some conversation. Maybe to do with camera, maybe to do with how excellent their combat pacing is. You know, screw those guys, because damn, Elden Ring was absolutely fantastic. True. Sinclair and Crooks weren't ready to discuss the exact details that set Soulframe's melee combat apart from Souls games, and there's a good reason for that. Soulframe is still extremely early in development. It's still too early to say how the game's gonna go, guys. Like, there's not gameplay focus yet. It's still too early. Basic concepts for the game began floating around at Digital Extremes back in 2019, but only a very small team, largely artists, had been dedicated to working on it until this February. Oh, it's very early on. Very, very early on, everyone. So why announce it now when there's hardly anything of the game to show? Sinclair acknowledged that it's become a meme when companies reveal games with vague CG trailers and few concrete details, but above all else, he wants to be upfront with players. Our work has been extremely community-driven, Sinclair said. It feels disingenuous not to tell players about changes in who's leading Warframe. Fair enough. It's way too early to announce Soulframe, actually, but in terms of transparency and make sure they understand how we think, we tend to be a lot more open than most studios. It's gonna be ages, guys. It's gonna be ages since Soulframe. But Sinclair and Crooks don't plan to announce Soulframe and then recede into a hush-hush development lab where it's all metal bars and tinted windows. After finding success with regular Warframe behind-the-scenes Twitch streams, they plan to give fans a look behind the curtains of Soulframe as early as possible. Ideally, that process will begin ASAP, as Digital Extremes diehards will get to play an early version of Soulframe within a year. Ooh, I hope so. DE, I would give you a little kiss on the cheek to get a little early access code whenever that happens. The thing we want to try to do is similar to Warframe, which is, hey, watch us make the game, get your hands on it rough bits, and tell us how you feel, Sinclair said. This strategy might sound inadvisable at such an early stage, but Sinclair believes it's not far afield from what Digital Extremes did with Warframe, a game that's now completely unrecognizable compared to its launch edition. Fair enough. Making it is kind of discovering it at the same time, Sinclair said. In my mind, it's like, well, if it doesn't work, you just keep going until you're dead or it does. There's a lot of things in Warframe that were just like abject failures from a design perspective, and we just said, okay, well, we're not going to do that anymore. Just repair it and remake it. It is exhausting and difficult. You get the thing where somebody's made a spreadsheet of promises that you broke, and I can think of Warframe, we were able to turn some people into champions of the game by speaking to them in a less guarded, less polished way. Sinclair also picked up moments to announce Soulframe because Warframe is about to receive a new open world expansion, the Duveri Paradox, and he wants to demonstrate that the game is being left in good hands. A decade on Warframe, all of the people in leadership positions have been there for 10 years, and there were not a lot of opportunities for other people to take leadership roles, he said. I wanted to move out of the way and a bit and get some fresh ideas. Have a chance for the next generation of our great team to kind of flex. Nice. That said, after so many years spent on the project, it has not been easy for Sinclair and Crooks to let go. It feels like feels like when you leave home for the first time. It's exciting, but it's also kind of bittersweet, Crooks said. Even though we're leaving, I can't see us completely ignoring Warframe, of course. We've already had our hands slapped a few times, Sinclair said with a laugh. I've not been able to help myself interfering, and it's created some conflict. So, that is Soulframe.